Hey guys, what is going on? Your lovely host here, Pags. Welcome back to an interesting episode. We got to talk about that's a good stretch. But we got to talk about the potential of what software engineers can make. As you can see, the beginning of the video, we're already off to a start. That's you guys saw the title. You saw what this video is about. And I want to have two videos of this. One, I want to show the potential of what software engineers can get paid to give you guys an idea. There's obviously other engineers watching this. And then two, I want to show compensation packages that I've had or what I've been offered. I'll briefly touch on some of the things I've interviewed with and have had potential with this. This journey I've explored personally. There's been a few interviews that I've had that and a few offers that I've had that blew my mind when I first signed them. So I want to give software engineering the respect it does deserve from being an employee standpoint. I think right away you can see just the immediate software engineering, how much software engineers can make on base pay average. You're looking at, $113,000 to $173,000. This is all the statistics, all years of an experience, all of experience, all industries. And of course, I think probably geared towards the United States. So you can see the average pay is about $139,000. Now, you could obviously break this down more. This is just Glassdoor's report. There's definitely different reports out there. But this is kind of a common, number of what I've heard. And obviously 0 to 1 experiences, or 0 to 1 years of experience, that does change to about $109,000. But that's still phenomenal if you consider that as a career path, or this as a career path, because $109,000 in America is still a fantastic employment pay. As an entry level position, guys. Like there's people who will work 10 years and never get that pay. If we look at the average salary, you can see average salary for blockchain engineer, but average salary for American citizen, right? We could say. The median is about 70,000. It looks like in Tennessee, Texas 58,000, but the average is pretty consistent across the board, around $40,000 to $60,000. Call it $50,000. And to earn double, right? This is the average household, meaning a dual income household, right? But the average citizen earns about $50,000, and as an entry-level software engineer, right, you can double that just by being in this space, being in a different vehicle. And I'm only pointing light to that, not to say, I think the average person probably deserves a little, more pay than $50,000 a year. There's a lot of very, very, very important roles in society that aren't cherished and respected enough. But the very fact that just being in a different vehicle, granted the barrier of entry, there's an intellectual barrier of entry in this space. Your very first pay, it's not unheard of to do something like this at all. And as a prereq for the second part of the video that I'll make a part 2 down the road, I'll disclose that my first base pay, I would say was I don't want to disclose too much on that video, but this is not unheard of at all for an entry level 0 to 1 year experience software engineer. And then obviously it goes up a bit, 1 to 3, 4 to 6. You could see that the average in your pay band as a whole increases, right? So this is just average. If you're an above average performer, obviously, you can get to the northern end of that pay band, more towards 150. If you're a below average performer, you're still doing wonderful, still touching $90,000 a year. So let's just kind of look at that Glassdoor report, and then let's go to this website called levels.fyi. I know many engineers are familiar with this website. It's a website where software engineers and product managers and other positions come together to share and disclose their salaries. That way we're all understanding how the market should, or how the market should value you as a software engineer. So you're not getting played by employers. So you understand your own value, and and all things associated to that. And what you could do, you can obviously go to these companies, you can click them, and it'll populate a new column, and you can see the entry level position of what a Google engineer gets paid. Before we show that, though, I want to just show a few of these other companies. There's Airbnb on here. There's a ton of companies, right? There's Coinbase. I'm a bit of a crypto person myself, so you could find a lot of companies on here. Not all of them, of course, but you could at least see some of the bigger name brand companies and what they're paying engineers. Now, obviously, these are going to be like your probably best compensation packages. So I wouldn't set your expectations at the highest. I'd go the other way. I would set it lower, which is more towards a range of these metrics, and then embellish upon that. Then gauge yourself as an engineer. Oh, am I better than average? Am I worse than average? Am I working harder than average? Am I producing more code than the average? Is my code base cleaner? I think then value yourself off of that personally. But I'll go ahead and disclose that I've had interviews, at least my first go around before I took my position at Babson. I had an interview with Apple. I had an interview with PayPal. I had an interview with a insurance company called USAA. And these were the three kind of opportunities I was looking down the barrel. Of course, a bunch of other companies, and it was a different environment. And like I said, I'll have a part 2 of what I actually went with and how it all panned out and things like that. But prior to this, of working for Babson, I was freelancing. I was taking 1099 work. I was taking other opportunities, but these were the first W-2 opportunities that I was looking down the barrel of. So if we look at Apple's entry level position, you're looking down a cash based pay. It's fantastic. This levels.fyi, you get the breakdown of your cash based pay, your stock potential equity, and then you also excuse me. You also can see, roughly what a bonus might look like. You can even click the view data points to see more data points of, hey, this is what an engineer in San Diego, California just got paid for a full stack position of 2 years of experience, and total compensation $164,000. They show the breakdown: 127 cash, 22.5 for equity, and 15K for a rough target bonus. Roughly total compensation of $165,000. And that's what we're looking down the barrel of in some of these entry level. Now, that's obviously one of the most name brand companies, being Apple, but there's a plethora of opportunities, right? Even at a company like PayPal, your entry level pay, your base pay is still going to be, $100,000. They're going to get you a little bit of equity, and then you can get a bonus as well. So you could see really quickly, and this was actually the position I was interviewing for. It was one of these two, but I remember the 110 number being what my pay band was when I was interviewing for USAA, or negotiation range was with them. So that's three companies that I was looking down the barrel of 110. I think Apple was even higher at the time. I know salaries have kind of came down just a smidge with the market. They've gone up in other areas as well. And then PayPal as well. So entry level positions, right? You can readily see that software engineering, all the tutorials, the courses, the late nights, the data structures and algorithms, the studying, the failed projects, the successful projects, you could see it becomes worth it. They give you a carrot that's worth chasing. Because this is, although I wouldn't say it's you're not going to buy a Ferrari with this. You're not flying private, but you're certainly doing okay, right? You're not complaining very much. You can definitely take care of your own. You can definitely pay bills. You can definitely have a life where you, money is not a huge stressor for you as much. And then of course you do well at your job, you get a promotion, you're now looking at an increased total compensation where your base pay increases, your stock increases, your bonus increases, and you might be able to hit that in a year or 2 years. Now, again, obviously that's one of the higher companies, but you could see that software engineering is not a bad opportunity. It's a very lucrative opportunity, and even from the employee standpoint. And that's what I want to highlight today is even from an employee standpoint. Now, obviously, the long-term goal for many entrepreneurs is to do more, and I would argue every serious engineer that I know is doing entrepreneurial endeavors. Usually, engineers I know are hey, I started a newsletter on the side. Hey, I'm building my own SaaS product. I have this thing that does this, and it rewrites resumes, and I charge people a couple dollars for this. Oh, hey, I'm building this thing that collects service or data here, and people pay for the data. Hey, I'm building a YouTube channel. Point being here, it usually engineers. What I've learned is not only are they just not only doing their job, but they're usually doing other things as well. At least all the or many of the engineers I've crossed paths with. So typically, your pay may even be fantastic, but then you can also embellish upon that pay because it's a good skill set in today's world, right? So with that being said, let's close out of these and let's look into some of the packages that are out there, some of the bigger name packages. And I have a friend that works at I actually have two friends that work at both of these companies. The one friend of mine who works for Facebook now, Meta. He and I actually lived together in college. We've been great friends. Or I wouldn't say, obviously gotten a little bit older now, so we still stay in contact. But wish I could talk with him more, obviously. But he is out in New York, and he's working for Facebook. And I'm not going to disclose either of their packages. For two reasons. One, I don't necessarily know the depth of their packages, and two, it's obviously their privacy and their business to maintain that for themselves. But what we can do is go through some of the packages of what Facebook pays and what Amazon pays. My other friend from Amazon, he actually did an interview on this channel. Super grateful for him to have done that. He made it a point to give back after accomplishing such a phenomenal thing, and he really didn't have to. But Yogi, thank you so much. Again, I truly appreciate you. So let's look at some of their potential opportunities that those two people are being paid. So your entry level position at Amazon, you could be in the pay range of roughly receiving $136,000 base pay of just cash, $25,000 of stock, and a bonus of $13,000 at the end of the year, totaling about $175,000. That's ridiculous, right? Like, obviously, these are the most competitive positions in the industry. That's why there's such a barrier of entry. But assuming you get into one of those positions, you're going to be very well taken care of. And let's look at Facebook's, right? Facebook is currently, their entry level pay band is $143,000 base pay, $42,000 stock, $10,000 bonus, a total of almost $200,000 as an entry level engineer. As your first job, potentially out of college, you're now earning $200,000. That is absolutely insane. Considering there are people who are phenomenal engineers and make this type of pay. There's one YouTuber, Clement, I forget his last name, but his claim to fame, and well, of many claim to fames, and being super talented and a smart guy, but one of the things he's done is he worked or he didn't know software engineering and then learned software engineering in 6 months and got a job at Google. And that is absolutely absurd to think someone can study something, not know it at the very beginning, and then a year later, or within a year, within 6 months, get a pay like this. This is absurd. Now, obviously, he has some predisposed, strengths. Being a mathematics guy, maybe he had a natural knack for this thing, but fundamentally, that is absurd. And I'll share a bit of how my compensation and how my journey went as well in a second money video around software engineering. I won't disclose that today, but you could see your entry level positions alone are just absurd. And then obviously a first promotion, it just gets even more ridiculous. Facebook, $300,000. Maybe 2 years into working for them, maybe one to 3 years, you can achieve $300,000 of total compensation. Maybe you do the 5-year mark, and you're now looking at a $400,000 TC total compensation, right? And obviously it can go up. So to think you could work for a company and earn $300,000 in total compensation. There are people who become doctors and don't do that. There are people who spend 8 years doing their residencies, med school, and they don't earn that. That is absurd. And that's why I think this space is so interesting, because it attracts such unique minds and such competitive people as well, where we are all really hyper competitive, but also hyper collaborative. It's this interesting space. So I just wanted to share, the opportunities that are out there, and obviously these are the northern end of employee compensations. And the final note I want to end it on, I did want to touch on the tax bracket thing, is you're joining the upper echelon of tax brackets. Just being in a competitive, hyper collaborative vehicle. Now, mind you, it is a lot of work. You do have to study a lot. You do have to learn all the time. That is literally part of your job, is learning, and moving your knowledge base forward all the time. But in exchange for that, you do have amazing opportunity. Financially and otherwise. I personally really enjoy software engineering beyond the potential perks and the potential benefits. I really do enjoy it. I do have a lot of projects. I'm working on it constantly, of course. So my passion extends beyond the financial possibilities. But the largest financial possibilities, what I want to finalize on is the craziest part about some of these SaaS products and these people who construct SaaS companies is when they go from an employee to their own solopreneur or techpreneur and some version of an entrepreneur, the pay gets even better. It gets even larger. Granted, now I'm not encouraging everybody to go do that, because there's a lot of risk with that. Embark that journey at your own risk. But the the opportunity of becoming a software engineer and generating a company for yourself increases. Because if you're a software engineer for a company, and this is kind of the realization I had personally, was if I'm a software engineer for someone else, I'm still building the fundamentals of their company. Why don't I just build the fundamentals of my company? And I'm almost advocating, especially with the downturn of let's just look on LinkedIn right real quick. But I'm almost advocating for engineers to do that themselves. So here's my LinkedIn. Let's just look up software engineering positions, and see what's out there. And the reason why I'm doing this too is you can obviously see that I'm not just pointing at levels.fyi and people are making this up. These are real job postings that you could see today, and you could see right here, senior web developer, $75 to $82 an hour. If I do 75 or call it $82 an hour times 2,000, that's how many roughly working hours in a year there are. Your base pay in a position like that is $164,000, which is just absurd. Obviously, it's not the Facebook base pays of being a senior engineer at Facebook, but for someone to earn a pay band of $125,000 to $250,000 a year is phenomenal, is fantastic. But with that being said, there has been that downturn in software engineering with mass layoffs. Personally, I was affected by it. I know many other people who were as well. And what I want to advocate to other people is, it's so interesting staring at these price tags when you're just viewing it. $190,000 to $215,000. Looks like I applied a week ago. But the point is if a company is willing to pay you $200,000 as one of their assets, right? An employee fundamentally is an asset, meaning if I'm a company, I have to pay an employee less than what they're actually worth. Every company does, because if you pay an employee more than what they bring in value terms to the company nominally, you're going to run out of money. No business could operate that way. Every business out there has to pay, whether it's a cashier, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a whoever to the specialist plumber. Everybody has to pay the specialist plumber less than what the specialist plumber actually makes. Otherwise, the business wouldn't be able to operate. So if someone's willing to pay a software engineer $200,000 a year, what does that actually mean you're worth? It's probably more than $200,000 a year. And what we're taught is, well, the software engineer is worth maybe what, $250,000 a year? Is it $300,000 a year? But there's been studies, and there's a book on it. Chester, my great friend, showed me this book and showed me this point in the book. A great software engineer is worth 10 to 30 times their pay. 10 to 30 times their pay. They're worth 10 to 30 times one software engineer. So one great software engineer is worth 10 software engineers, or up to 30 software engineers. And that's where you have to sit there and think, if I'm going to get paid $100,000 a year, maybe the accumulation of my skill sets and talents and the right luck and a lot of bit of God can generate me an opportunity worth 10 to 30 times this opportunity here. Now, I'm not advocating to just blow off these amazing job listings and things like that, and these opportunities as well. But what I'm advocating for all software engineers is don't devalue yourself, even in a downturn market. Be willing to walk away from a company or from people who don't value what a software engineer can do, because we can generate companies ridiculous amounts of data, ridiculous amounts of money, ridiculous amounts of systems, of organizational and data collection systems and checkout flows, and you can build the forgive me guys, there's a fly here, he's getting a little annoying, but just a bit of an inspirational pep talk, because I know many software engineers and like myself have ran into a frustration with companies. One of my great buddies I'm thinking of now, who's like, he says this verbatim. He's like, I will never be loyal to a W-2 again. And he's doing his own entrepreneurial endeavors. Fantastic guy. And the point he's trying to make is he's understanding his value as a cog in the employee wheel is much larger than the box that they're trying to put him in. And it's so true. And I would go on the northern part, if you're an engineer who's on YouTube and you've watched this far, and you're clearly seeking out knowledge, you're clearly seeking out embellishing your own skill sets, you're clearly seeking out your own opportunities, because you're extending yourself. You're seeking knowledge, right? You're seeking network. You're seeking community potentially. And I would argue that those things are so valuable that you can't overlook them. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here, just as obviously an introductory point of how much software engineers can be paid. But there's a reason for it too. Is we're doing all these data collection services. We're doing huge things, all these many-to-many relationships, and programmatically calculating best ways to convert users into data. So that is my spiel on software engineers, and also a bit of my biased advice towards the end there. I hope there's a bit of value here, but the fundamental through line I want to maintain is I know people are worried about this AI stuff and the job layoff stuff and all these things, but the biggest thing you should focus on. Oh, I just got a message here. But the biggest thing you should focus on is the value you're producing for either yourself. Predominantly, you should always produce value for yourself and other companies and people and collaborators. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope there's something to learn here, or was at least very interesting for you if you're not part of the software engineering industry. Perhaps this is the golden carrot, or the carrot to say, hey, take a look at it, see how this can go. So thank you so much for watching. Cheers.